This morning, I would like to take some time out to observe the history of Mother's Day, the modern holiday that we all celebrate, the one that we've gathered here to celebrate. Although Mother's Day is one of our most popular holidays, as it is celebrated not only in America, but all over the world, I wonder, how do we get Mother's Day? How do we get traditions like giving flowers and cards and taking mom out to eat or having a family gathering at home? But to me, most importantly, how do we get the tradition of going to church with her as well? It's true that a mother-themed celebration can be traced back to ancient times, but those celebrations are about mothers being celebrated, and those mothers were goddesses. The focus did not seem to be about the actual mother who gave the physical birth. And so this morning we will investigate the history of modern Mother's Day and how it came to be. And then we will pull 2 points out of that and apply them to our Mother's Day today, hopefully. And so we'll start at the beginning and finish when we get to the end. How's that? All right. So, to start out, history records that the earliest celebrations to honor earthly mothers was a Christian holiday established in the United Kingdom and some parts of Europe. It was called Mothering Sunday, and it always fell on the fourth Sunday of Lent, and it still does for some people. And it was a time where faithful Christian mothers would return to their home church, or if unable to, attend their local church. And it faded in popularity, but like I said, there are still people who celebrate it. Now, the modern celebration that we have today was inspired by a woman named Anne Marie Reeves that you see here. She was born on September 30th, 1832. She was the daughter of a Methodist minister, and she went on to marry the son of a Baptist minister in 1850. In 1852, the couple moved to Webster, West Virginia, a small community in Taylor County, which is in the Appalachian Mountains. Together, they had 12 children, but like many families of the 1800s, many of them were lost to recurrent epidemics like measles, typhoid, and diphtheria. So only 4 of her children made it to adulthood. All right, this is Taylor County. It's kind of blown up. Now, because of her loss, Anne became a determined advocate for public health. In 1858, while she was pregnant with her 6th child, she organized what was called Mother's Day work clubs in Webster, Grafton, Pruntytown, Philippi, and Fetterman, which are all still functioning towns in West Virginia. These Mother's Day work clubs were based in local churches of every denomination. The goal was to bring together women from the Christian community to work to improve the sanitary and health conditions in their communities. These women would visit families to educate on sanitation, nutrition, and overall health. They would also raise funds for families who needed assistance with medical costs, as well as provide household help for homes that had sick mothers. Which leads us to April 12th, 1861. This was the day the Civil War began. Many consider the Appalachian region to have been hit harder than any other part of the U.S. By the end of the Civil War, 80 Appalachian counties had been devastated or extremely heavily affected by the Civil War. Now, during that time, Anne Marie's Mother's Day work clubs, it's a mouthful, their mission evolved as the war-torn mountains left wounded soldiers from both sides that needed care. Anne Marie convinced the work clubs to make the important decision to remain neutral despite pressures from the communities to pick a side. She believed that mothers could initiate peace. These soldiers were, after all, someone's son. Throughout the course of the war, these mothers took food and clothing to both sides stationed in their areas. They also cared for the soldiers and their camps when the typhoid, fever, and measles broke out. They were going out into the camps, into the war. Even after the war ended, the Mother's Day work clubs continued to promote peace and reconciliation within their own communities. In 1868, the work club held a community get-together that was called Mother's Friendship Day. and they held that despite numerous threats of violence. The women instructed the band that was there to play the losers, the Confederates' Dixie, the Union's Star-Spangled Banner. They won, if you didn't know. History may not teach that today. And ended with the entire community singing Auld Lang Syne. And I did my best to try to sing that. It's a Scottish poem, but I didn't want to ruin it. So you can look that up on your own. All right. Anne Marie continued to be active in the community after the Civil War, like I said. She was heavily involved in her church, teaching Sunday school classes as well as organizing events. She was involved in the building of Andrews Methodist Episcopal Church, which you see here, and she continued to advocate for peace as well as for health and sanitation. She became a popular speaker and religious lecturer. In 1902, her husband died, and she moved to Philadelphia to be closer to her sons and daughters. One of her daughters, Anna, became her caretaker as her health declined. She died on May 8, 1908, surrounded by her 4 children, and she was buried in West Laurel Hill Cemetery in Philadelphia. Which leads us to the actual founder of Mother's Day, which would be Anne Jarvis, her daughter. Now, Anne Jarvis was the daughter of Anne Marie. She was one of Anne's 4 surviving children, and as stated earlier, she was her mother's caretaker until her mother's death in 1905. Now, on May 12, 1907, Anne held a private memorial service for her mother at the Andrews Methodist Episcopal Church, stating that she had once heard her mother pray for someone to establish a day in which all mothers could be recognized in 1876. She says she heard it in a Sunday school class. She and a few others would go on to write letters, speak publicly, and advocate to make a Mother's Day national holiday. The following year, Anne organized the first public Mother's Day event at Andrews Methodist Church on May 10, 1908. She herself was not able to attend as she was giving a speech in Philadelphia, but she sent a gift of 500 white carnations. And the church is still there, like I showed you a picture of, and it's a tourist attraction. It's called Mother's Day Shrine. Within 5 years, almost every state had adopted the second Sunday in May as Mother's Day, and in 1914, Woodrow Wilson recognized it as a national holiday. Anne was pleased that she and so many others had accomplished their goal. But Anne would soon come to regret what she did. Which brings us to what I call the fall of Mother's Day. Now, Anne Jarvis kept the apostrophe in Mother's Day because the focus was to be on your personal mother, not all mothers. She envisioned it as a personal day for mothers where one would go and visit their mother to attend a special church service in honor of her and spend the day with her as she wore a white carnation as a badge. I know you all got white carnations, mothers. A quick side note on that, and I'll explain this real quick. Anne said the carnation, its whiteness is to symbolize the truth, purity, and broad charity of mother love. Its fragrance, her memory, and her prayers. The carnation does not drop its petals, but it hugs them to its heart as it dies. And so, too, mothers hug their children to their hearts, their mother love never dying. When I selected this flower, I was remembering my mother's bed of white pinks, which is why we commemorate with carnations. Now back to the holiday. Again, it was established nationally in 1914, and again, it went according to Anne's plan until about 1920. But at this point, the holiday started to be taken over by corporate America, and soon prices were being raised on flowers at Mother's Day, and pre-made cards flooded the market. Anne began urging people to stop buying flowers, cards, and gifts, claiming that the market had taken the meaning out of Mother's Day. Mother's Day was now only about money and greed. And this is a pen that she designed. I couldn't get a very clear picture. This is the only one I could find. When she urged people to stop buying flowers, she created these white carnations Mother Day pens and sent them out all over for free. So this little cool piece of history. Now, she was quoted saying of the candy and card industry, as well as florists, "What will you do?" She's speaking to the crowd there. "They are frauds, bandits, pirates, racketeers, kidnappers, and termites that would undermine with their greed one of the finest, noblest, and truest movements and celebrations." Again, her ideal observance of Mother's Day was the effort put into it. Again, she said, "A maudlin, insincere printed card or ready-made telegram means nothing except that you're too lazy to write to the woman who has done more for you than anyone else in the world. Any mother would prefer a line of the worst scribble from her son or daughter." At one point, she had over 33 Mother's Day-related lawsuits pending. So I'd say that she felt very strongly about advocating to eliminate this holiday. She had fought against charities that used Mother's Day for fundraising. She was escorted out of many events. She was arrested many times, and she even wrote long, tedious letters to Eleanor Roosevelt for using Mother's Day to raise money. By 1943, she had become severely indebted and almost blind. In one of her last public appearances, Ann Jarvis was seen going door to door in Philadelphia, petitioning the renunciation of the holiday that she and so many others that I just don't have time to name, but you can find, they worked really hard to put in place. Distraught by her failed endeavor, she was eventually placed in the Marshall Square Sanitarium. It's no longer there, it's now a memorial park. Kids get to play there. Distraught by her failed endeavor, again, she was placed in the Marshall Square Sanitarium. Having lost all her money to the legal battles and having no family, the very florist and card companies that she advocated against paid the bill until she died November 24th, 1984, at the age of 84, having never married and having no children. She was buried next to her sister, brother, and mother at the West Hill Laurel Cemetery. And that's our story of Mother's Day. Okay, what's the point? That's what you're asking me. I know Johnny told me to be nice. It's not negative, I promise. What's the point of learning all this except for the fact that it's interesting? I'm not condemning cards and flowers, obviously. I got those things from my mom today. They're a part of our culture today, right? But I want us to look at Mother's Day perhaps through a different lens. So let's look at two things quickly that we can pull from this history and apply. And my first point is this. Mother's Day, like many other holidays celebrated in this country, was founded in Christianity. You don't ever hear about that. This was the first I'd heard about it. This was a Christian holiday. It is based on the workings of Christian mothers coming together and being Christian mothers. They didn't just say it, they did it. They lived their faith. They cleaned and educated their communities on their own, not because somebody gave them an order to do it. They refused to call anyone an enemy, and they ran toward disease and gunfire. You can only imagine how many mothers gave their lives on that battlefield, saving someone's son. But they weren't husbands or brothers or even regular men to them. They were sons. They were someone's son. It's a love that only a mother can know. I think it's important to know these truths. Mother's Day is undoubtedly a Christian celebration dedicated to a Christian mother, and we need to know that. They're trying to take it away if you haven't been watching the news. And then my second point, more of a personal aspect. How do we honor our mothers? Well, we honor our mothers in the way that we live. That was Ann Jarvis's whole point about starting the holiday. It was also her whole point in trying to eliminate it. A person does not honor their mother with gifts, but in how that said person lives their life. When God gave Moses the 10 Commandments, he made the fifth one, honor thy father and mother. And then Jesus shows us in Matthew 15, 1 through 4, that in able to do that, your actions must be in order. Matthew 15, 1 through 4. Then Pharisees and scribes came to Jesus from Jerusalem and said, "Why do your disciples break the traditions of the elders? For they do not wash their hands when they eat." Jesus answered them, "Why do you break the commandment of God for the sake of your tradition? For God commanded, 'Honor your father and mother,' and whoever reviles or insults father or mother must surely die." You see, it is in our actions and the way that we live our lives that honor our mothers. What honors a mother is someone coming to them and saying, "Is that your boy? He's a good man. He's a godly man. You did a great job." Or, "Is that your daughter? She's so cool. She's peaceful. She's got a godly spirit about her. Good job. Good job, Mom." Or whatever it is about them that motivates you. But someone will come up to you as a mother, and there's nothing more honoring than people wanting to know if you are that person's mom because of how good they are. I truly believe that the holiday was established as well about coming to church because moms never give up on us, do they? Moms, you can say it. It's true. You don't give up on us. But they also know that Jesus doesn't give up on us earlier either. And at least once a year, a mom can get their hard-headed son into the door of a church to hear the gospel. I think that that's pretty fun. But be careful doing it. You might end up doing what I'm doing. So in conclusion, I would like to thank all mothers for their love and sacrifice. But most of all, I'd like to thank my mother for raising me the way that she did, because it made me the man that I am today and put me where I am today. And I hope that we can all take this day and make it more personal from now on. Yes, it's nice to honor your grandmother, but honor your mother on Mother's Day. And hopefully we can love our mothers almost as much as they love us. So if you need anything from the church, prayers or guidance, counsel perhaps, please come now as we take this time to stand and sing.